This guy secretly hates Leeds. This guy hates QPR. Your hate to Blackburn is getting out of hand. Another week and another prediction for Oxford to lose. So predictable, always has Cov to lose. Do I have an agenda against all of these championship clubs? Today we're going to find out. As you all know, we run a weekly prediction series on the channel where I go ahead and predict the outcome of every single match in the championship. And today we're going to be having a look at what the league table would look like if all of my predictions so far were 100% spot on. So for everyone who might claim I have an agenda against this team or that team, let's put it to the test based on statistics. Without any further ado, let's jump in. So based on my championship predictions so far this season, it would be Plymouth Argyle sat at the bottom of the table with just 4 points to their name. So if any fan base has a reason to be mad at me right now, it's probably Plymouth Argyle. They're 7 points better off in real life than they would be in my own personal predictions. I think that performance on the first day of the season, just how bad they were at Sheffield Wednesday, just stuck with me for the following weeks. I predicted them to lose quite a few games after that. Did call that win just before the international break, to be fair, against Blackburn Rovers, but on evidence of this, I've definitely been too harsh on Plymouth so far in my predictions. So Plymouth fans, I apologise for that. 23rd in the championship based on my predictions would be Cardiff. I predicted them to pick up 5 points so far this season, and that's the exact tally they've got in real life. So in the weekly predictions, I probably have been quite harsh to them so far, but justifiably so. Point for point wise, I've called them spot on. And that's also been the case for Portsmouth this season as well. Based on my predictions, Portsmouth would have 5 points, and in real life, that's the exact tally they're currently working with. Still looking for their first win of the season. I did call their result against Oxford spot on before the international break as well. I had that one down as a 1-1 draw. That's exactly how that game finished in the end. 21st in the table, based on my predictions so far, would be Millwall. They are 3 points better off in real life than I've got them down for. I don't think that's all too bad, to be honest with you. Only being 3 points out on a club, I don't think it's too shabby. I predicted Millwall to pick up 6 points so far this season, whereas in reality, they've actually picked up 9. Fairly similar story with my club, Preston North End as well. No one can accuse me of being overly biased or overly kind to Preston so far this season, because we've actually picked up 2 more points in real life than I've predicted us to accumulate. At this stage of the season, I've got North End on 7 points, whereas in reality, we've actually picked up 9 points. Start of the season for Preston was an absolute mess, but under Heckingbottom, it definitely feels like we're going in the right direction now. 19th in the table, based on my predictions, would be Stoke City. I'm not a million miles off with them either, to be honest with you. They're 3 points better off in real life than they would be based on my predictions so far. I think as long as you're within that sort of 3-point range on a club, especially at this point of the season, no one can really be too mad at me for that. Oxford United, I'm a little bit more out with. Based on my predictions so far, Oxford would have 8 points, whereas in reality, they've actually got 12. Listen, it's been a really good start to the season for Oxford. Some real eye-catching performances, especially in the first few weeks of the season. I was really impressed with them when they beat my club, Preston North End, a few weeks ago. They've outdone my predictions by 4 points so far, so yeah, fair play to Des Buckingham's men so far. Sheffield Wednesday have started to pick up in recent weeks. They're 3 points better off in real life than they would be based on my predictions. I did have them to lose that game before the international break against Coventry, but a last-minute winner proved me wrong in that game. So yeah, fair play to Sheffield Wednesday. They are outperforming my predictions as of right now. 16th in the championship table based on my predictions, it would be Watford. Now I am way out on Tom Cleverley's side so far this season, there's no denying that. 8 points better off Watford are in real life than they would be in my predictions. I've only predicted them to pick up 8 points so far this season, whereas in reality they've got 16 on the board right now. Listen, I do think Watford probably have been one of the biggest overachievers in these first block of 9 matches that we've had so far this season. At the start of the campaign, before a ball had been kicked, I, like quite a few people, had them to really struggle this season, but that's not really been the case. They have had some tough performances and results so far this season, don't get me wrong, with probably the worst one coming against my side, Preston North End, but they've had really good bounce back ability so far this season, and generally speaking, at home especially, they've been a pretty solid outfit. 15th in the table based on my predictions so far would be Derby County. I'm fairly happy with this, to be honest with you. I'm only 3 points out on Derby. They got 12 points in real life based on my predictions so far. They'd have 9 points on the board. Norwich have really started to pick up in recent weeks, haven't they? They'd be down in 14th in the table based on my predictions. I've only predicted them to pick up 9 points this far into the campaign, whereas in reality, they're flying high with 15 right now. That's 6 points out on the Canaries. So apologies to Norwich fans, I've definitely been too harsh on predicting your side so far this season. 13th in the table, it would be Swansea City. Fairly happy with this one. I'm only 1 point out with Swansea so far. I've predicted them to pick up 11 points. In reality, they've got 12 points on the table. Nothing to complain about that, I wouldn't say. And I have been absolutely smashing it this season when it comes to the Hull City predictions. I've predicted them to pick up 12 points so far, and that's the exact tally that they've got in real life. No difference whatsoever. Alright, I've not accurately called every single Hull City match after 9 matches, but generally speaking, I've been more accurate with Hull than a lot of other clubs. There seems to be a bit of a notion amongst Blackburn Rovers fans that I'm always hammering their club, but that's not been the case in the weekly prediction series so far this season. Based on my predictions, Blackburn would have 12 points. In reality, they've got 15, so I'm only 3 points off on Blackburn Rovers in the weekly prediction series so far this season, which isn't too shabby whatsoever. Oh, I've not been great with calling QPR so far this season though. This is the stage of the video where we start to get into some of the clubs that I've been overly kind to so far this season, and QPR definitely fall into that category. They've only got 7 points in real life, whereas based on my predictions, they have double that amount. They'd be currently working with 14 points. So QPR, things just haven't been clicking for them at the start of the campaign. They've only won 1 of their first 9 matches. I've been quite optimistic about them this season, evidently, based on my predictions, but it's not really turned out that way so far. Another club I've been overly optimistic with my weekly predictions so far has been Luton Town, who you'd probably say have been the biggest underachievers of this championship season so far. We're 9 games in and they've only got 8 points on the board, whereas based on my weekly predictions, they'd be working with 15 points right now. So Luton, I've been too kind to you so far. That's also applicable with Bristol City as well, who I have been a bit too kind with in my predictions. They have 16 points on the board right now if all of my predictions were spot on, whereas in reality they only have 11 points in real life. Been a bit of a patchy run for Liam Manning's side of late, hasn't it? They have been a bit of a frustrating watch. Now in real life, Sunderland are flying high at the top of the championship right now, but based on my score predictions, they'd actually only be 7th in the table, albeit I am fairly close to their overall point tally. I've predicted Sunderland to pick up 16 points so far this season, whereas in reality they have 19 points, so only 3 points out on their point total, but in terms of position in the table, I am quite a few places away. But so far this season, the team that I've been most wrong with when predicting them has been Coventry, and I've been way too kind to Mark Robins' men so far this season. Based on all of my predictions this far into the campaign, Coventry would have 17 points on the board, whereas in reality, they've only got 8 points after 9 matches. I think I get myself into this headspace of when we see a decent result or performance from Coventry, I always fall into the trap of thinking, alright, this is the moment, this is where their season begins. And they just can't follow it up in the following week. We had the perfect example of this just before the international break when they smashed Blackburn. I thought they'd follow it up against Sheffield Wednesday. They didn't do that. So I'm 9 points out on Coventry. Yeah, I've just not been great with calling them so far. Generally speaking, I've been pretty accurate with calling Leeds United though. They'd be 5th in the table based on my predictions so far. That's exactly where they are in the championship table in reality, and only 2 points better off in my predictions as well. So Leeds, up until this point, I've not been bad with calling them. And there can't be any Burnley fans in the comments claiming that I've got an agenda against Scott Parker's side either, because I've been absolutely bob on when it comes to predicting Burnley Burnley this far into the campaign. Based on my predictions, Burnley would have 18 points on the board. That's exactly the amount of points they're working with right now. To be honest, I don't think it's just Middlesbrough who have caught out me this season. I think they've caught out quite a few people in the comments down below. Based on my predictions so far, Borough would be third in the table and would have 19 points on the board. In reality, they're outside of the top 6 and only have 14 points. So I'm 5 points out on Middlesbrough in total. Listen, their underlying data has been really good so far this season. On the eye test, I think they've been pretty decent as well, but that's just not translated into consistent results so far this season. I do think that probably will change as the season goes on, but as of right now, I am 5 points off on Middlesbrough with my weekly predictions. I definitely think I got a bit too sucked into the West Brom hype at the start of the campaign as well, because based on my predictions so far this season, they have 24 points at this stage of the season, whereas in reality, they've only got 17 on the board. So I'm 7 points out on West Brom 9 games into the season. Listen, they started out the campaign really well. Last couple of weeks haven't quite been at those same levels. I still fancy them to be in the promotion mix come the end of the season though, but yeah, I have been a little bit out with West Brom of late. But topping my table, based on my weekly predictions so far, it would be Sheffield United. I predicted them to pick up 25 points out of a possible 27 so far. Now, if we discount their point deduction, they would be on 21 points in real life right now. So I'm not a million miles off with them. I'm only 4 points off in my predictions. I've been a little bit too kind maybe to the Blades so far, but I do think they've been one of the best sides in the league so far this season. Still unbeaten, so good defensively. Being 4 points out on them as well isn't that bad of a prediction, I don't think. But there you guys have it. That will now wrap it up for today's video. I hope this ends some of the rumours that I've got an agenda against some championship clubs, but you're always going to get that in the comments down below, aren't you? If you did go on to enjoy today's video, make sure to leave a like. Subscribe if you are new around here, and I'll see you all in the next one.